Hello and welcome to edition 15 of DBE TV News. Thank you for tuning in to the news update from the basic education sector. You are watching us on OpenView channel 122, on the DBE YouTube channel, or on BRICS TV channel 509 Starset. My name is Tsegohajo Moagi. In the news this week, Minister Angie Motshekga inaugurates and welcomes new SACE Council members. We get an idea what has been happening in the education space in Gauteng, in the Northern Cape and in KwaZulu-Natal. Sports in schools is back, but with no spectators. So how is the department ensuring everyone is safe? We have the details. Have you ever wondered what is meant by rural education? We speak to Dr. Phumzile Langa, the Director for Rural Education. She tells us more about projects in place to improve rural education. And
I am the first woman to be appointed Deputy Director General in the Department of Education Northwest. Prior 1994, even post 1994, I'm the first one. And in the same vein, I also found myself being the first woman in the Department of Education in the Northwest Province to be appointed the head of the department, something that I will forever cherish.
That is Stefina Mamoto Semasue, the head of department in the Northwest Province. She speaks to us about her legacy and achievements while in the education sector. Remember, you can use any of our social media platforms to share your thoughts with us. On Twitter at DBE_SA and at DBE TV News, Facebook DBE SA, Instagram DBE SA. You can use the hashtag DBE News. Minister Angie Motshekga has inaugurated and welcomed newly appointed members of the SACE Council. The South African Council of Educators is a professional council for educators who aim to inspire a credible teaching profession by registering fit-to-practice educators and lecturers and maintain the profession's professional teaching and ethical standards. The Council convenes at least 3 times a year and is the highest authority and decision-maker for all policies of SACE.
It is worth mentioning that this team of councillors came at a very difficult time that were not only engulfed as a country but the entire globe. And you all know that we are referring to the period we're in of COVID-19 pandemic. It has serious implications for our work, for our skills, and everything, even for our innovation and imagination. It is a very difficult time. If we thought the sea waters were unstable, for me, these are real rough times that we're going through. Real rough times that we're going through. Period of turbulences, actually. We're experiencing that this emergence of the pandemic in our schooling system has experienced a great deal of turbulence that does not compare to anything else. What these councillors will not only be expected to do is just to adjust into your new roles, but we're looking forward to, or with expectations, that they're going to bring necessary innovations on how work is done in this new era and make sure that we don't reverse much, especially to the detriment of the vulnerable already. And that's for me the biggest nightmare about COVID-19, to say what are going to be the outcomes of these turbulences, especially to vulnerable communities and vulnerable children.
SACE CEO Ella Mukhalane says she is excited to have a new council and hopes they will find ways to make teaching a credible profession once again.
One of the things that we are hoping the new council will do is to make sure that they begin to inspire a credible and a teaching profession that has integrity, that will take the teaching profession to greater heights. We are entering the 4th industrial revolution. In fact, it has always been there. And we are experiencing the recurring COVID-19 pandemic, and therefore it cannot be business as usual. We are expecting them to reflect on the mandate of Council to begin to review the SACE Act and begin to look into the future. And we are expecting that they will be able to reimagine the teaching profession. They'll be able to repurpose it and make sure that we prepare within the teaching profession future teachers that are future fit for the current children, the future children that will be teaching. And therefore, we have started a project of reviewing and repositioning SACE. And out of that particular project, we are hoping that we'll be able to do things differently and have a reimagined teaching profession that will have a professional council that is also future fit and make sure that we are in line with the fourth industrial revolution and take our children on board in terms of the 21st century skills and also competencies of the future.
Some of the new council members spoke to DBE TV News about what they hope to bring to the organization.
Well, we're looking at making registration easy for teachers, ensuring that we make life very easy for those who want to attain their certificates, even those who are still at university. I'm also looking at advocacy to assist teachers, with how to behave towards learners and their colleagues. So I'm hoping that we do a lot just to ensure that we grow the profession.
And I'm looking forward to working with the council in the next 5 years to inspire and motivate teachers. I'm particularly interested in the professionalization of teaching, and I'm sure that with all our collective efforts, we'll be able to refocus, recreate, and renew our energies to seeing that teaching is taken to a new level. And to all our young female teachers there, may I just say, you've chosen the right profession. Teaching is the mother of all professions, and I wish you well as you continue to inspire and motivate the children in your class to reach greater heights.
Now to KZN. KZN Education MEC Kwazim Shengu says the demands made by the South African Democratic Teachers Union in the province reinforces the call for more financial aid. The organization picketed outside the legislature office to highlight the challenges over unfilled vacancies and some unpaid salaries. Part of their demands include a call for Treasury to reconsider its 6.3 million rand education budget cut.
Well, the Premier of the province, has just received a memorandum from the SATU, a memorandum which basically reinforces the call that we've been making as a Department of Education to get more funding in order to stabilize the education sector in the province, but also usher in quality education. The department this financial year had a budget cut of 6.3 billion, and that has affected the staffing, particularly those of educators. We have schools that are not sufficiently staffed, and as a department, we are also unable to put substitute teachers for those educators that are on leave for whatever reasons, and these things affect teaching and learning. So SATU has also been amplifying that call, and we're happy that the Premier did come out to receive the memorandum and committed that government will urgently look into these matters so that we achieve stability in the sector.
In the Northern Cape, MEC Zolile Monakali reminded the matric class of 2021 that hard work is the best way to succeed. He spoke while visiting Hoër School SR van Wyk in the Namakwa district to monitor COVID-19 compliance. He used the opportunity to also remind learners that they are the future of our country. Monakali says the department can do all it can to support the learners, but it is up to them to be determined to do as best as they can.
So jy kan ook 'n besluit neem. Jy is in matriek en jy kan besluit waar wil jy vir jou bevind volgende jaar. Jy kan die ondersteuning kry van die onderwysers, van jou ouers, van die gemeenskap, van die departemente. Ons kan vir jou die sportuitrusting gee, ons kan vir jou die skooluniforms gee. Ons voorsorg dat jy voedsel by die skool het. Maar as jy nie gewillig is om onderdanig te wees en die skoolwerk eers te stel nie, dan is alles te vergeefs.
And in Gauteng, Glen Vista High School principal Tobile Morgan says she is shocked and devastated after parts of the school hall was set on fire. It is alleged that learners at the school taught the whole. Allegedly, they did not want to write an exam. Gauteng Education MEC Panyaza Lisufi visited the school where learning and teaching has been moved to the sports ground. While investigations are ongoing, Morgan says it will cost a lot to repair the damage to the hall.
It's in the region of 400,000 Ks because curtains, as you can see, were bent. And then we've got the sound system that was bent, electrical wires, and desks. And we had a big screen here, it's gone. I'm devastated. I didn't expect this, especially when we are about to write our final examination. I expect the school to be running very smoothly and learners to be learning.
We'll be right back after the break where we get more information about the rural education in the country.
We are here, colleagues, ukuqhubeka ne-program yethu to move with time. We live ey'nsukwini where the manner in which we teach, the manner in which we govern schools is rapidly changing. The manner in which we communicate, the manner in which we work, and the manner in which we live generally as people is rapidly changing. This is one element of that project of modernizing ways of teaching, learning, and governance. This is one element of it, where we're giving principals of schools tablets so that they can now manage in a manner that will be more effective, ezoshesha, but indlela ezokwenza uprincipal achithe isikhathi esiningi esikoleni. You are managers, and I want to emphasize that. You are managers and you must manage ngendlela that is proper, ngendlela ezokwenza izikole zisebenze ngendlela efanele. A principal must sit in a proper office, do work, makufuneka submission ayenze online ayisubmit. Aqhubeka agade isikole ukuthi siqhubeka kanjani. So you must be dynamic. And that's why we are giving you these necessary tools.
Every learner, every community deserves good quality education, and that is why the Basic Education Department is determined to continue providing this in all schools. Be that as it may, we have what is called rural education. What exactly is meant by rural education in the South African context?
I always bring it to Africa and say that when it comes to inequalities, it's different for different countries. I always make an example and say in Burkina Faso, for example, they have problems with gender education. So when they talk about equality, it's girls' education, boys' education. In other countries, it's remoteness, like here in South Africa. When we talk about equality, we can't run away from the fact that there are contexts, like rural context, where there are inequalities if you compare to urban context. So our aim is to bring that to people's attention and also ensure that we then close that gap between rural and urban.
So the aim is to close the gap between rural and urban education. What is the department's progress in this?
Well, it's a challenge, but we're getting there. It's a challenge, but we're getting there. People are now understanding what rural education is about. They are also warming up to the idea that we need to have a strong focus on rural schools if we want to ensure that there's quality education in the country. That's where it should start.
Well, the department launched the Rural Education Assistance Program in 2018, a 3-year pilot program. Dr. Langa explains how this came about.
The first thing we identified was that there is no point of reference. When people talk about rural education, rural schools, there is no document where people could refer and say this is what needs to be done. So when we came, the minister then appointed a research team to do research on rural education, to come up with a framework for rural education, a framework that will guide DBE, that will guide provinces to to ensure that there are context-specific strategies for rural schools. So they had to do research and look at the needs. What is it that rural people need? And we had to get that from them, rural teachers, rural learners, and also rural parents and community members. So the framework was there. So that's how the Rural Education Assistance Project was then born. Because one of the pillars of the framework was that we need to include rural people in everything that we do. Decisions that we make about rural schools, we need to include rural communities. In fact, we need to ensure that rural communities are part of rural schooling, and that's how the REAP came into being. Then the REAP was then when we employed youth to come and work as education assistants in rural schools. Yes, we identified young people between the ages of 18 and 25 who had passed matric. Matric was the minimum requirement, and we also wanted a good pass in English and a good pass in maths or maths literacy in the matric, so that they can then assist learners in primary schools with numeracy and literacy.
The department has other projects such as Edulution. It's a project where learners in rural areas are provided with tablets to catch up on any learning they may have lost.
We have a new baby in the directorate. We call it the Edulution Project. It's fully funded by the private sector. We've partnered with Sisego Group, and they are implementing it and are paying for everything. We are piloting in KZN, specifically in Pinetown District, where 10 schools are part of the project now, but we're going to increase that to 15. And of course, again, COVID-19 also disturbed our plans there, which is why we are now introducing schools in small numbers, not in big numbers like what we had planned. But learners there are provided with tablets that have maths content, and it's a catch-up program. They do that after school, and Edulution also employed coaches, the youth between the ages of 18 and 35 this time, who assist these learners with the tablets, and they do the exercises.
School sports has had to be interrupted due to the devastating impact of COVID-19 earlier this year. But all that has now changed. The Basic Education Department has consistently maintained the importance of school sports and arts and culture. However, with the COVID-19 pandemic, cases increased significantly, and it was found that contact sports was the major cause. The good news is that sporting activities, which are good for keeping young minds active, are now underway, but spectators are not allowed.
We have had quite a difficult year. In fact, I would say now almost 2 years, because we have had a stop and start. We have had at some point to suspend contact sport because of COVID-19, just as a precautionary and a safety measure. So we really have had situations where the program for school sport as well as arts and culture has been disrupted. We are starting, we are stopping, and so on. So it has really had a very, very devastating blow to our learners who participate in sport, especially those that are outdoor inclined, you know, those that really like to be outside and participate in sport and other extracurricular and enrichment programs.
Schools had earlier this year reported that many learners had contracted COVID-19 due to contact sports. The department says it has been a challenge to ensure a good balance is created because many learners are eager to take part in sports.
Well, one thing that we have noted is that when community numbers in terms of infection rise, and we also see that sometimes transferring into the school. So I think it's too early to tell at the moment. We know of provinces where the numbers are on the rise, but generally other schools in other provinces are participating, because that is where the challenge is. We've been trying to create this balancing act of allowing sport to continue, but also knowing that when you talk of contact sport, it could be a spreader within a schooling community. So it has been a challenge to create that balance between between allowing contact sport or sport in general and also, not allowing it, because we know that there are learners that really want to participate, they want to be in the competitions and so on.
So what measures have been put in place to ensure learners are safe?
Well, the issue of a biobubble, even for professional sport, is quite expensive. At the moment, even in professional sport, they are no longer doing it, especially in the country. But it's something that can protect to a certain extent, but we do believe that the measures that we have put in the directions and guided the school using the standard operating procedures, we do believe that that is quite sufficient in terms of sticking to your non-pharmaceutical interventions, just to make sure that everybody is safe, and also limiting in terms of spectators, because currently the Department of Sport in the country allows both professional and amateur sport to continue.
Stay tuned. After this short break, we get to know Stefina Semasue. She is the HOD in the Education Department in the Northwest Province, one of 5 female heads of department in the basic education sector.
The future of South Africa lies in your hands. Our goal is to ensure that your health is taken care of so that you can continue building your future.
Vaccination is just the end point. We've got Higher Health, which is our own institution that has helped us greatly. They came up with an app very early to do a health check. You can check yourself every day, every morning, to see if you have got any symptoms that could actually suggest that you have actually been infected, or you could have been with people who actually have been infected. And also the sector actually has managed to set aside, almost each and every campus has got an isolation room. We've trained tens of thousands of students and staff volunteers. That means we are going to be vaccinating an estimated 250,000 staff members and senior students. And we are really hopeful that by the time 3 weeks is up, we would really have vaccinated largely the whole sector. This is really about social solidarity and working together. If you vaccinate yourself, you are not only saving your lives, but you are also saving lives of other people.
From the 1st of September, young people aged 18 to 34 years old can register to vaccinate on vaccine.enroll.health.gov.za or call 0800 029 999. Brought to you by Higher Health.
Welcome back. In this week's edition of Women HODs in the Basic Education Department, we go to the Northwest Province to know more about Stefina Semasue. Stefina was born in Limpopo and is the last born child to her parents. She says teamwork, dedication and commitment are important elements to carry in order to succeed, and adds that she hopes she has paved the way for other women in the country to reach their goals. Through her journey in the sector, Stefina says she never thought she'd be an HOD. However, she encourages young women to invest in their own personal development and to remember that anything is possible. Our colleague Terence Kala sat down with her.
We would want to see, I'm saying we, because at the helm of the basic education sector is a woman, followed by another woman. You look at the MECs, a number are women. And now of late, heads of education departments are women. So as part of that group, I want to see this department rising higher and higher and higher. Because when you look at the progress of this department, especially since 2009, when you can track performance, it has been rising, going up and up. And you look at who is at the helm, it's a woman. It's a woman. So I see myself as part of the collective in this journey of taking this department and this sector in general to the higher heights.
What would you love to see as your legacy personally, as having been an HOD in this province and having worked so hard for education? What would you like your legacy to be?
One, a number of women in this department occupying higher positions, from chief director upwards and up to even heading this department, not only in this province, but across the country. Second to that, improving performance of this department, especially in the Northwest. We've been doing very well for the past few years, except for 2020, which of course we didn't do as we normally do. So I want us to bounce back so that when I leave this department, my legacy would be, I took this department from this level and I put it at that particular level much higher. I can tell you, when I was appointed DDG, District Coordination and Professional Support, this department was, in terms of NSC results, was at around position 87. But ever since we were able to take this department together with the former HOD, late Dr. Molale, may his soul rest in peace, to position 4, position 3. At some stage, we were position 2 and threatened Free State after supplementary examinations with position 1. So that's the history of this department. So I want it to be part of my legacy, take back this department where it was and where it has to be forever. Performance in terms of the metric results. And the other thing that I would want to leave as a legacy is, Northwest is predominantly an agricultural and mining province. So we have, established a few agri-focused schools. I want to see these schools flourishing, producing people that can go to universities and colleges and coming back and work in this province to improve the economical status of the province through agriculture. The province has got a potential. All that we need is a well-developed, knowledgeable human capital. And this can only be achieved through basic education. If we can produce people who can take up agriculture seriously and study it, come back and participate and play a role, at least I will say I have done much better. We have about 4, if not 5 now, well-established agri-focused schools, which are well running. We are funding them, and really we are looking forward to them, giving us the fruits that we would be proud of.
The full interview with HOD Semasue is available on the DBE YouTube channel. That's how we end this week's roundup on Channel 122 on OpenView, on YouTube and on BRICS TV Channel 509 StarSat. Remember to stay safe and to comply with all the COVID health protocols. Until next time, it's goodbye from myself, Tsegoha Jomoagi, and the DBE TV News team. Thank you for watching.